You're watching and listening to In Proximity. I'm Paola Mardo, and it's the holidays. Happy holidays, and thank you so much for supporting, watching, and listening to In Proximity this year, this 2025. And I personally want to thank you for joining me every week this new season. I know it was a different kind of season to get used to, and also to have me there every week with you as we met filmmakers, creatives, executives, and all sorts of interesting people working in the entertainment industry. But yeah, thanks for being there and just supporting us as we tried something new and different this year. So, since it is the holidays and most folks will be winding down, maybe spending time with loved ones, or maybe just taking that time for yourself to unwind and relax and maybe prepare for the new year, we wanted to get a little bit cozy and drop some special episodes in your feed throughout the rest of this year and top of next. What that's gonna look or sound like is basically mini episodes. We're calling them Prox Gems, which means they will include gems from the different episodes we've had this season. They might be anecdotes, they might be great stories, they might be fan favorites. And today we're gonna kick it off with a compilation of our Prox Recs from all of 2025. So from this season and the specials we did earlier this year, that includes the Sinners episodes with our founder, Ryan Coogler, and some of his collaborators on the film, and the special we released over the summer with Chinaka Hodge, the creator of Ironheart, the TV series that Proximity Media also produced. So it'll be a bunch of great Prox Recs from the year. If you're looking for some inspiration or maybe even a little holiday treat to gift to yourself or to a loved one, some of these might be great for that. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy these Prox Recs. Maybe take some notes. And if you're on YouTube, click on the links below. And we'll see you every week during the holiday with our special Prox Jam mini episodes. And in the new year, we'll get back to our regular weekly interviews. Happy holidays and enjoy.
Prox Recs. Prox Recs.
Autumn, Cheyenne, Shadow, Durald, Arkapaw, ASC. We have now reached our section of the podcast where we do Prox Recs.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I make a recommendation, or whoever the host makes a recommendation, and then our guest makes a recommendation to our audience too. Imagine an audience like you when you were at AFI, coming up in the industry, trying to figure out a way to get going, to self-improve, so to speak. And it could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be a podcast, anything that kind of helps you do your thing or helps you do your thing in the past. Offer anything up?
Yeah, so this has to do with you. Well, I got two-layer rec. Eudora Welty.
Oh.
The moment we spoke, and you do this, and this is what I, as a DP, I would say recommend to the youngsters, is I work really well with photography references, because I think that's what inspired me coming up. Like, I took pictures, that's how I was able to express myself, and in still images, I can get a feeling, and it's so profound. And so you gave me that reference, like, from the jump. Like, you said that, and I got the book, and I looked at her photography from 1930s Mississippi, and it just inspired me. So I feel like that's a book that I would have never known to look up. And so I have that book. And that was one of the biggest inspirations, like from the start, that you shared with me for this film. And then my kind of coinciding rec would just be like, work with people that are your friends, like if you're lucky, because that's the biggest inspiration that you'll ever get, is that you appreciate and like somebody that you're working with or for. And that will make your work amazing. Not any technical knowledge that you maybe like you kind of gather, but just that like you are inspired by the people around you. And I think that's my rec.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My rec is a little more on the nose, but there's a book called Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez, Argentinian author. It's beautiful. It's set in Argentina during the military dictatorship of the 1970s. It spans several decades, though, but it's supernatural horror. Beautiful book. And it's kind of like, it's executed at a high level what our film was aspiring to do, I would say. So I would recommend that to anybody who's interested in our movie or the horror genre. But yeah, that's it's a great book. Autumn, thank you. Meant the world.
Pleasure.
I think folks really gonna enjoy this episode.
We're supposed to come up with some recommendations for our listeners about how to move through a production. We're supposed to recommend some books, movies, etc.
Yeah.
So if we're going to second season of the Ironheart Room and you were telling people to read some books along the way, what would you suggest for our writer's room?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a very pragmatic guy, as you obviously know, and I would really recommend every single book on screenwriting that you can afford or you can get from your library. Like I followed that rule myself as a writer. I've read every single book. I mean, Save the Cat's a good starting one, but there's endless ones because I don't think you can go wrong, and the only thing you have to give up is a bit of your time. I'm also a really big believer in reading tons and tons of scripts, especially by the greats. I think a trick that I learned way too late in my career was if you're going to go read, an Aaron Sorkin, let's say, movie, for example, read every single Aaron Sorkin movie in the order that he wrote them, because subconsciously you'll find yourself after page 30 on the third script, you can probably say the line that he's about to write, because it's an easy way for your body to just very literally by osmosis understand a writer's taste and voice, like we always talk about. That was really helpful.
Yeah. Aaron Sorkin suggestion actually reminds me when I was a poet back in those days, I had writer's block. And the main thing I would do to beat writer's block is I'd try and emulate the style of another writer. So I'd literally, every time I get stuck, I'd be like, how would Toni Morrison write it? And after like 10 minutes of being like, I can't write like Toni Morrison, I invariably go back to writing in my own voice. So I tried it actually with Sorkin early on and did it with like The American President and the West Wing scripts too. So I would say on this show, we've leaned heavily into the graphic representations of W.B. Du Bois. So I would definitely recommend that book. For all writers' rooms, I recommend a refresh on The Elements of Style by Strunk and White. I think just brevity helps a script. Being able to say something in 3 words is better than saying it in 10.
My partner Niche swears by that book, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to read it. It's like the vegetables of books, but every time I read it, I get a refresh on what makes things great. All of Octavia Butler's catalog, starting with Lilith's Brood and the Parable series. I also reference Kimberly Drew's Black Futures, and then extra bonus point, I would add Saba, the musician Saba. He provided a tone and a vibe for this whole thing, and most of the scenes that I wrote that turned out well, I was writing along to Saba's music.
I would recommend watching Haine, directed by Mathieu Kassovitz, and watching with a director's commentary. That was one of the first, it was one of my favorite films all time.
Cool.
And I remember listening to that commentary when I was just a young lad out there. Just a boonso. Sorry.
Youngest child, baby. And this is the Criterion Collection.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Director.
That was an inside joke.
Yes.
Whatever. Not a joke. That
Yeah.
wasn't. Whatever.
So you listen to this. Actually, I've not seen this film. It is on my list. I really do want to see it.
Okay, yeah.
I keep seeing my Instagram. She keeps popping it up on my
That's
feed,
what I would
so-
say, because I think that it's one of those films that's kind of a cult. I think it's because it's a cult classic.
I
It's
think
kind
so.
of very revered, and it's style, use of
Shot in black
style
and white.
It's shot in black and white, but the things I see, they didn't even shoot it in black and white. That was
Oh.
a choice.
Interesting.
And I was just, that like blew my mind. And I was like, I don't understand how they even thought to make some of those choices. But listening to him talk about it was very freeing, and like, there are no rules. There's rules, but there are no rules. And it made the idea of like actually doing it a little less scary.
Yeah.
My Prox Rec for today will be advice.
Okay.
And, take it or leave it, like everything else in life. I want us to always remember what got us to these places. And no matter what it comes with, as you get further in any career, any job, wherever you're doing in life, there are going to be challenges that remind you that you have to make a decision on what am I doing this for. And I want people to remember, if you're a filmmaker, make films. I don't care what level you're on, until you can get to whatever that goal is on your board. But just make the film. If you are a musician, make music, put it out. If you're an actor, act. I don't care what you do in this world, do it. Because you're messing yourself up caring too much about the result, and you're not living in the present. So you have to ask yourself, is this something you really want to do? Actors are, struggling right now when it comes, especially actors of color. They're struggling right now. So what should you do about that? Are you going to wait on Hollywood? Or are you going to go take the opportunity that presents itself when they take them? I'm not saying take, crazy shit, but just open up more and remember why you're here and why you do this. Because those are the ones who go off into legendary status. And always remember too, is like, have patience with this. I tell people all the time, like, in order to be Beyonce now, you got to be Beyonce then. So it's easy for you to look at where she's at now and want to mimic that shit,
Right.
forgetting that she was also in a group. She was also coached by her dad. She was also on Star Search. Like, all these things happened before she was Cowboy Carter. Have some patience, do the work, enjoy this shit. And like, that's my advice. Don't forget where you came from. Don't forget why you started this.
This may be a little bit out of what's expected, but I wanted to recommend actually a book that I read recently, which honestly has nothing to do with Asian American anything. But I wanted to recommend the book The Wager by David Grann. So why I'm recommending this book is because David Grann is an incredible writer. He actually wrote Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm sure The Wager will also become a movie, a blockbuster movie eventually. But the way that this book is written, it's a nonfiction, but the way the book is written like a really epic fiction narrative. And I think for people who are interested in the world of documenting an archive and finding a story by piecing together evidence, this book is such a masterful work in how to source real information, right? It's how to source truth and add narrative to it. And so I've been recommending this book quite a bit to other friends who are just like interested in reading.
Yeah.
But I find this, like, the book itself is such a great study of nonfiction. And David Grann spent years researching this book. And the story is about a shipwreck that took place in the 1800s, right? So it's so far back.
Wow.
It's so far back. And as a documentarian, I have such admiration for someone who can go into the 1800s, piece together the crumbles of information to tell this great epic of a story.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so I love consuming stories in all forms, be it fiction, nonfiction, book, documentary, but this book in particular has been so compelling and such a masterpiece.
I love that. I never would have expected the setting. I was like, it sounds like a thriller. Oh, the 1800s.
There's certainly thrilling moments.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this one. I think there's, on the surface, my recommendation or piece of advice to anyone earlier in their career, and I've got a chance to listen to a lot, is don't wait for permission. If you are creative and you have this energy of wanting to create something to put out in the world that's never been there before, do it. And stop waiting for a reason why you can't. I think so much of my early career, I was spent just convincing myself on reasons why what I wanted to do would fail, or that others would look at it and judge me for it. And looking back now, I got a late start into what I'm doing now, but I think those lessons of just going out and trying things, not waiting for permission from everyone else, is probably the biggest piece of advice that I have for others. In terms of a rec, Been loving Emma Greed's podcast. I also love this podcast. I've told you a couple times, a couple references early on before this of ones that I've loved. But there's just so much content out there, and just go and listen to things that aren't in your industry. Go and expose yourself to other industries, other people's other voices or opinions than yourself. But I think just going out, and in the last piece I would say is just meeting people face to face. Like, we've talked over email, we've chatted before, and it's been amazing. But this time, getting a chance just to meet face to face is so valuable, and a time spent with so much of your energy and time behind a phone. So those would be, I know you asked for one, I gave you 3.
It's great. We'll take them all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Warner.
My rec is gonna be a little bit strange.
Okay.
It's actually a documentary that I rewatched recently by a filmmaker named Michael Moore, who's from Flint, Michigan,
Your town, yep.
where I grew up, and he made a documentary called Fahrenheit 9/11. It's a very famous documentary. It's one of the highest grossing docs ever. But I rewatched it maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I was floored by like how fucking crazy that time was. Yeah, just with, you know, the current administration we have and like the political landscape that's in front of us, man, there was a lot of similarities. You know what I mean? Like it was very eye-opening to rewatch. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you've seen it but haven't seen it in a while, go rewatch it. It connects a lot of dots.
Wow.
You know, and I think it gave me a little bit of perspective for myself, you know, about where we at and where we might be headed.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to Michael Moore, Fahrenheit 9/11.
Truly unexpected.
Very
but
unexpected.
I love the rec. I love that. I love a good rewatch, so I appreciate that.
It's great.
As it relates to my department, if anybody wants to learn script supervising, the best way is not to just get thrown into it like I did. But if you want to do any job in anything in this industry, find the people who are doing it and follow them. But learn your craft before getting too deep into it. Because you may find out you don't like it, or you may go down the wrong hole. And I tell everybody, you know, I've never had a day at work because I love every day.
That's the dream.
I'll recommend a book because reading is my favorite pastime. And it's called Leadership Pain. I like that book because I think it helped to reframe my mindset when it comes to leadership. I was waiting for leadership to not have any pain. And I think that that's delusional. It will be, leadership is pain. And if you want to be a good leader and a bigger leader, right, of a bigger, business, you have to increase your threshold for pain, because being a leader is very lonely.
It's lonely at the top.
It is, because nobody, like, you're going to be the one that wants it to work the most, and as you should, right? And so through the ups and downs of the industry, the economy, and, you know, I've been doing it for 12 years. Like, I've experienced COVID and all types of stuff, right? So you will have people that are passionate about what they do, but everybody has a purpose. You know what I mean? And sometimes that purpose diverts from what they're doing with you. And you have to realize that. So, like, you lose people, and you know what I mean? Or like, it's lonely, but also there's a lot of pain in the things that you have to deal with to maintain a business or maintain a platform for a very long time. There's a lot of pain to it.
When I sold my first thing, which I did it kind of, I sold something with Proximity, and then at the same time I sold a show to NBC that I was writing by myself with no producers. I was thrown in the deep end. I had no business doing that project, but they liked the idea enough, and they were like, "You're writing it." I took night classes. So I did not act for about a year and a half. I quit all other work, and I signed up for UCLA. This is not a plug. They are not paying me. I tell anyone close to me this, so I'm like, why have I never said this publicly? UCLA extension classes. They have a screenwriting program. It's meant for people that have jobs and careers. You can do it at night or on the weekends.
Amazing.
On Zoom. I learned the real nitty gritty screenwriting structure stuff in that class. I give credit to like my first network pilot that I did on my own because I had the structure of that class. So I'd be writing my pilot for like Universal during the day and then taking the classes at night to make sure I was doing it right at night. But it was like, I figured it out and I delivered. It taught me outline and story area structure and dialogue and re-breaking things and second drafts and third drafts in a way that I didn't feel like I had to be like the newbie, even though I was a newbie. I like to come as prepared as possible. And so anytime someone's like, I have an idea, I'm like, here's the secret. Do UCLA Extension. I recommend it, and it gives you a second set of eyes on your work.
I want to say something that has nothing to do with what I do.
Which is great.
Sourdough bread.
Okay. Because
I've been obsessed with sourdough bread recently.
You can make, I've tried during the pandemic. I suck at it.
I think the message here is that creatives should obsess over things, right? And if you pick something that is like just seemingly meaningless, like bread, but then like you OCD over the nuances and the details of that thing. It could be sneakers, it could be watches, it could be fine art, right? It could be music, but like I like when you really nerd out on something innocuous like that, like bread, you know, and like I'll buy like 3 sourdough breads from local bakeries and I'll like cut a slice and just sit there and like taste the 3 different things and understand. I'll toast it for 1.5 minutes and then I'll toast it for 2 minutes and I'll see the difference. What the fuck does that have to do with what I do? Nothing. But I think it does intrinsically help when I'm like designing an album cover or like creating a shoe that like the detail is like really important. You know, like Steve Jobs had this great quote where like a great carpenter cares about the back of the cabinet, the side that never gets seen. But like if you turn it around, it's a great carpenter makes it just as beautiful as the front side, you know? And some creators could be like, who gives an F? Like, no one's going to see it. It's up against the wall. But then another one is going to be like, no, every detail is taken care of, you know? And that's what I try to do in all of my work is like kind of have that care. So I think actually you talk about burnout. I think obsessing within your field can cause burnout. Like if I just bought typography books and sneaker books and looked at Vogue and Business of Fashion all day long, I'd like gag on the industry, right? But it's important for me to like eject and be like, oh wow, like cool, bread, interesting. And then
or make an album.
Yeah, or make an album, you know? Like I think you could take learnings from that and apply it to your world much more meaningfully than like sort of being in that vacuum of like your own industry.
There's so many good books on art and there's so much good information. I feel like I can't contribute to the conversation, but books I love is like an old school book that you can never go wrong in getting is Bridgman's Anatomy. Some people learned Bridgman's Anatomy and didn't have to learn a shtick else after that and had amazing careers. It's just a great foundation for the building blocks on how to do figurative art. Contemporary books, I don't know these people from a can of paint. I don't get any money for this, but Tuesday Tips by Grissom Norm, great practical information for anyone who wants to get into animation storyboarding or design. It's fantastic. And for story-wise, Paul Guillot's book on Kill the Dog, which is about, ironically enough, it kind of uses the metaphor of John Wick, but it's a book on screenwriting from an actual screenwriter. So, and it's very good.
Give it a little twist.
Ooh, a little twirl. On the show, we ask everyone to do a Prox Rec or a recommendation for listeners, viewers.
Yes.
It could really be anything. Most people do a recommendation for what they do. So for you, you're our first chef on the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, what would your recommendation be, your Prox Rec?
I would say, Essentials of Italian Cooking by Marcella Hazan. The Essentials of Italian Cooking is a book I carried with me just because it felt like a piece of home. Even when I cooked in Paris, I brought it with me. It just has been a really grounding energy thing to pick up and touch and watch how far I've come. And I think cookbooks have a really strong like I have a really strong connection to them because of where I was in my cooking career. So just like people have huge movie collections, I have huge cookbook collections. And I'm always seeking out like the older, you know, dusty cookbooks, because I think how people taught cooking was so different, you know, 50 years ago to where it's at now. And it's just so important to like reference back to go forward.
Oh my gosh.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Cheers. Wait, cheers.
We cheers. Cheers to you. Thank you.
Nothing better, you know?
Nothing.
Nice, right?
This is delicious. Thank you very much, Courtney. This was so fun. Thanks for teaching me a little bit more about cooking, sharing your journey on The Bear and what you do. And yeah, excited for the next season, but also just very amazing to hear all about your work and your process. So thank you.
I actually have been listening to the Mel Robbins podcast recently, and some of her guests have been very influential in terms of leadership and motivation and how to, you know, just balance everything as being like a leader, but also a motivator for your staff and for your employees, whether we have our volunteers or just even to each other. I love just listening to that and in the background. So that would be my recommendation.
That's awesome.
My recommendation is going to be a film called The Color of Pomegranates.
Okay.
And if you haven't heard of this movie and if you haven't seen it, it might change your life a little bit. And it certainly will change the way you think about what movies can be, what film can be. It's directed by an Armenian filmmaker, so there's your Armenian connection. But it is a film that is unlike anything I think you might have seen. It's regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. It's on the Sight and Sound list. You know, Martin Scorsese and the Film Foundation recently restored it. But it's unbelievable. It's such a poetic film that uses sound and color and just the visual medium to create a tapestry of, you know, ideas. And I think people have that sort of reaction to it of, I've never quite seen something like this before. So I recommend it as much as I can because it really opened up my eyes when I saw for the first time of just what film as a medium can do.
So this section is a Prox Recs section where you make a recommendation for anything that helps you compose music for film. It could be a book, movie, TV show, podcast, quote, anything, something that you like to keep in mind and think about our listeners, just folks that's downloading the podcast. They maybe are kind of where you were when you were in that frat house stand for your first year in the scoring school. Any advice you can get, like a recommendation for folks?
Yeah, I mean, for me, getting started on this project, it was challenging. The most challenging part, I would say, was what's my voice in this? You know, how do I find that and keep it true to what I feel like I'm good at and how I can bring in these influences and turn that into something that feels like it fits the film, but also that feels like it's me too. So that was difficult, but working with incredible musicians, you know, we have some incredible, awesome musicians playing on the score in this film. But one thing that I also like to do is to go and get some new instruments. So that was how I started buying some new guitars and getting this guitar from 1932, really starting to sit with that instrument and see how much you get back from sitting with an instrument and playing it yourself. Listening to all these songs that you sent me that I wasn't familiar with, Tommy Johnson and the blues book that you...
Oh yeah, Deep Blues by Robert Palmer.
Yep.
It's a beautiful book about essentially the bedrock of what our film is about, what the Delta Blues music is and what it represents. Like almost like on an anthropological level. But yeah, that book we gave to everybody I worked on the film. And it's another book called Blues People by Amiri Baraka, formerly known as Leroy Jones, that we also looked at quite a bit. That was more for kept that one, you know, closer to the chest. Thanks for doing this, bro.
Of course, it's so fun.
Hell of a first appearance on In Proximity.
In Proximity is a production of Proximity Media. The show is hosted, directed, and produced by Paola Mardo. Executive producers are Ryan Coogler, Zinzi Coogler, and Sev Ohanian. Theme song and additional music by Ludwig Göransson. Patrick Apino is our co-director and director of photography. Ken Nana is our sound designer and mix engineer. The production team includes Brittany Brown, Isabella Miller, and Alexandria Santana. Follow us on social media at Proximity Media. For transcripts and more information, head to proximitymedia.com.